Hello and welcome to another episode of the Breathing Body podcast. I'm so happy that you are here. This podcast invites you to meet your body in a deeper and more meaningful way and to find your way back home. We explore tools and practices, share stories and experiences about how we can say yes to the body we inhabit. This is the most beautiful project life has to offer, and I call it self-love. And yes, this podcast is also for you, sister, to access an archive of inspiration and resources to find freedom in relation to food and your body. Healing through eating difficulties invites us to arrive in our body and to give her a voice. And yes, this opens the space to live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And in today's episode, I had the absolute heartfelt pleasure to welcome Josianne Hosner back onto the show. Josianne was with me in the very beginning, I believe episode number 3. And I got so many feedbacks and we want more messages that she did come back. And in today's episode, I've picked a couple of the questions you've sent in and she has answered those for you. So amongst others, we'll talk about the challenges and gifts of perimenopause and menopause. We talk about what the anger, the sadness, the pain we often experience premenstrually in our inner autumn might mean and how to meet that. And we talked about how we can use our cycle to find our true calling and purpose. And for the ones who don't remember, Josianne is a Swiss-based menstrual cycle mentor and a Menstruationskundige and author of the wonderful book Back to the Roots, which sadly only exists in English yet. Since more than 10 years, she is supporting women to learn to understand their body and menstrual cycle and to create a bloody brilliant life, literally in harmony with the knowledge about their menstrual cycle. And yeah, on my journey so far and also eating disorder recovery journey, menstrual cycle awareness has been the absolute key tool, and it's just fabulous that she came back. So enjoy. And as always, if you do so, then please leave a 5-star review, leave a comment, share, spread it with all your friends on social media, via WhatsApp. You can't imagine how much of a support that is for me to keep this project and the breathing body going. Lots of love, and let's dive in with Josianne. Welcome back on the podcast, Josianne. It's
Hello.
wonderful.
It is. I'm happy to be here.
And we've just realized that we've planned our dress code and we are both here in orange.
We met.
We met exactly. And wow, I'm just so happy. And there are so many things we could and we will talk about. And we just said, why not start with a cycle check in and actually start in the very present moment? So let me ask you, Josiane, what day are you on today and what's alive in you right now?
I'm on day 10 of my cycle. So I'm in my inner spring. And
Mm.
I just talked to a friend this morning that I, on one side, love this energy because there's like a million of ideas plopping up in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked before for like 3 hours and I'm sending out emails like crazy to get things going.
Mm-hmm.
But I also realize it's quite exhausting because it's like this full on steam, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I could do everything today. And so for me today it is important as well to know
Mm-hmm.
to save some energy as well. So it lasts through the
Yes.
day until tonight. Yeah.
Hmm. And to not give too much too quickly, which can be challenging when that energy, when these hormones shift in spring, right?
Absolutely, because it's like with nature
Mm.
right now. It's like everything is in full
Hmm.
bloom, everything is ripe, everything. It's like this. We go through our garden every day to pick herbs, and it's all there, and that's how I feel a bit as well. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
everything is possible. It's all there, but yeah, then it's important to take breaks as well during
Absolutely.
these times. And you, what about you?
And
What?
me, so how interesting we meet two different polarities meet themselves this morning. I'm on day 24, so I'm in my inner autumn. For me, the color orange and brown, really, I think that's why I kept that fleece on. It just really felt right today. It's really rainy outside, and it's interesting. I woke up and it's kind of gray and rainy, and I felt, yeah, it's fine. Very much fits my. That's perfect. I just want to be inside and talk to Josianne. I don't need to, yeah, dance in my summer dress outside. And a really interesting exploration for me this month was I've immersed myself back into the book Wild Power from Alexandra Pope. And it really, again, was such a good reminder, how the way we bleed, she says, uses the terms, it sets the tone for the rest of the cycle. And this last menstruation, I really allowed myself to menstruate and I rested way more than I would ever rest. And it's fascinating, Josiane, how this autumn it felt almost that I thought, is it really? Am I shifting into? But I didn't have these crazy. Oh, I need to give up everything, and it felt so. I could feel how the rest of menstruation even still nurtured the experience of autumn or transition into autumn, which
No,
made
that's
me
so
so happy.
beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I think that's actually how it's supposed to be. Like we are
Yes.
not. It's not that inner autumn should exhaust us every month that crazily
Mm-hmm.
how it
No.
mostly does. But to me, it shows a deep level of exhaustion through society, through people. Is
Mm-hmm.
like what you said, to you didn't want to give up everything, and that's usually a point of pure exhaustion as well. It's like, oh,
Yes.
nothing makes sense. It's all so hard. It's also senseless. It's
Mm,
so and those things, yeah, they come up in inner autumn.
mm.
But if that level of exhaustion is not that bad, then there's a lot of pearls, a lot of joy in that autumn.
Absolutely, absolutely. And wow, we are actually already you start to beautifully answer one of the question which it came in twice in a similar way, and I can relate to it, so I picked that one. And that woman wrote that once a month, she didn't say in her inner autumn, but once a month, I want to give up everything, quit my job. I feel I am so wrong. And I start to fear those days or that day. What shall I do?
That's a beautiful, sad question. And it's a question I know
Hmm.
so well. Yeah, I've heard it 1,000 times. And my guess, like I would bet on this. This is in the autumn. This is in the
Mm-hmm.
days for the bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that would be my guess. Yes, I think on one hand, it's our inner core sending us messages, to really truly check in with ourselves of
Mm.
what works for me in this life and what doesn't. And that's a
Mm.
huge question, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong question that never really
Mm-hmm.
ends. But
Mm-hmm.
it mostly shows up during that time in our cycle. And I do, like, for when I'm at I know this point. I've been at this point many times, and that point still comes up. Those questions still come up,
Mm-hmm.
even though I've been living a cyclical life for the past 15 years or so. Um, for me, it really is what I do in those moments is, okay, what tires me that much? Like what's really out of balance of
Mm-hmm.
something is wrong with me giving and receiving, something is wrong with
Mm-hmm.
nurturing. Do I nurture everyone and everything around me, and where I am, where
Mm-hmm.
am I like in the whole process? Like it's really this, where is my space, where is my sense, where is my meaning of life as well,
Mm-hmm.
um, and am I close to myself? Or do I have time to be close to myself, to connect to myself? Depending on the family situation, on the work situation, on the, also I would say on some kind of, um, how do you call that, psychological stability, like how
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're doing all those things, that can really be quite a deep valley to go through each month.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the important thing in those situations is to not ignore them, to
Mm-hmm.
really stay with it, kind of sit with it in the fire, to to
Mm-hmm.
to honor that as well, and to name it, to say that's how I am feeling. That's me at the moment, because the tendency is just so quickly to grab your phone, to to read something, to watch something, to just to not be present with yourself in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and just, yeah, to honor, to witness yourself, and then it can be more practical things as well, of like name what's too much, like make a
Mm-hmm.
list, write it down, what is it that is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling of being wrong, I think that's a big, big loss we experience, because that cyclical knowledge is kind of has disappeared a lot. Like, we love to be in full bloom. We love to be
Mm-hmm.
full of energy.
Mm-hmm.
We love to be everything to everyone, make everything possible, like to take care of everyone, to listen to everyone. Um, and in inner spring and summer, that is more possible. We do have more energy then. So it feels like it's a better fit to the world. It feels like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I can keep up with it, with everything. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And inner autumn, it's just a different energy story inside. Like, it's a hormonal thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just some kind of woo woo. That's like a evidence based hormonal story that's going on inside of our bodies. And those hormones in that second half of our cycle, they are telling us to slow down, to take a step back, to take care of ourselves. And if we don't know that, if we've never heard that, if we feel something, and that person, I mean, she feels wrong, and that wrong, that's very interesting. It's like, what's that wrong? And I would
Mm-hmm.
explore that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you say so many wonderful things, and I'm now thinking, oh, the message I would like to give to that woman is, what if she turns that around, that I am wrong, into I am right? Because that is the truth. She is suddenly, yes, more emotional, more fragile, more closer to maybe darker sides, shadow sides, difficult parts of her. And that is right, isn't it, Josiane? Because that is the energy and the nature of inner autumn, if we know about the autumn. So now I suddenly think, hey, you are allowed to turn that around. You feel that feeling, I am wrong, and it's an expression of health. I am right with, and that's why it's so important what you said, to not push it away, to not go behind the phone, but to actually say, yes, that's how I feel. The color is gray today, and I feel brown inside. And
Yeah. And that makes us whole. That's,
mm-hmm,
if we split that part away from us, if we keep that apart, we'll never feel whole. We need those sides. Like, when you go
mm-hmm,
back to nature, we need, like, trees, bushes, plants, flowers.
mm-hmm,
They need that time. They need the time to go back inside,
Yes.
to die, to kind of dissolve, to go back to the roots. And then they gather the wisdom, then they gather the strength, and then after that pause, that break, that autumn, that winter, they are ready to bloom again. And it's pretty
Absolutely.
much the same. It's the
Hmm.
same inside, and to
Yeah.
recognize that, it's there's a great power in that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so beautiful because since you are one of the very first guests and again re-sparked my desire to learn more about cyclical wisdom. And over the last couple of months, I really realized I also called that podcast a breathing body because a cyclical body is a breathing body, right? The estrogen phase, it's expansion. We go out, is I would now say it's an inhale and then it's an exhale.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
we
yeah,
have to exhale.
we have to. We have to. That's what I tell on my speeches I held. It's like it's we as a society, we are the inhale people. It's always more, more, more.
Oh,
You know,
love that.
it's that what else is possible? We have to do better. We have to do more. We have to do it faster. And we completely are not used anymore or ignore the exhale. But without that, I mean, what happens? We hyperventilate in the end. It's just we
Mm-hmm.
can't take more in. And I think that's a point we are at. Is it like, can our hearts, our bodies,
Mm.
our brains handle even more? It's just an overload of everything. We need
Mm-hmm.
the second half of every cycle, of every, like, of the menstrual cycle,
Mm.
the breathing cycle. We need of the oceans cycle. We can't be all in that flow. What's it called? The tide, I think.
Yeah, yeah, the tide, yeah.
The tide. We need the Epe. We
Yeah, we
need
need the, oh gosh, now I am epi on flute.
we, good
We
and
need the
Epe. We
coming and
need,
the receding of the ocean,
yeah, we
yeah.
need water to go back
Mm.
again because it would
Mm-hmm.
overflow everything. So we need people who are older than the young people. We need all that. It's that. That's what I say. It's what makes us whole. It's what makes nature whole. And we are part of nature. We are not a part of that. We are not.
Yeah.
We do feel split off, but we are a part of that.
Wow, I loved that you said we are an inhale society because I feel that is so important to acknowledge with all these questions which came in, right? In the end, it's also such a almost political and societal question. And we might get there today in part two or in another episode, but we also are an eating disorder society, just as a little side note to throw in there. And I think there is actually a big link between an inhale society and an eating disorder society. just to,
Yeah.
it's so interesting. Wow, yes. So I just tried to summarize for this lovely listener. So you just said, yeah, actually, she's invited to really truly check in because she arrived in inner autumn. And maybe there also isn't it interesting how we can push many things away in the other seasons, or because we have this, there is some author calls it the Beyonce hormone, estrogen. But suddenly, actually,
Mhm.
it's just so raw and pure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. And yeah, the question, what tires me so much to actually really look at the table, look at whatever where she is at, and really ask herself, what tires me, what do I need to be nurtured, the meaning of life you mentioned. And yeah, maybe also the question, would you agree, Josiane, what do I actually keep saying yes to and I mean no,
Mhm.
boundaries.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
All about that, and where is my space?
Mm-hmm.
Where is my
Mm-hmm.
time? Where can I think without, like, with
Mm-hmm.
peace? Is that
Mm-hmm.
existence even, or is it just
Mm-hmm.
like directed from the outside, like every hour of my day?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that
Mm-hmm.
just that
Mm-hmm.
gets too much in inner autumn.
Mm-hmm.
That's when all the pain, the anger, the doubts, everything comes out.
Mm-hmm. And maybe because she said, and that touched me, I fear those days, or I fear that day. Um, do you have an impulse what she could do in spring and summer, maybe to actually work on the answer she gets from that reflection? But
Mhm.
how, yeah, do you have some words? Because that touched me, to
Yeah,
fear that day.
yeah, it's a tough thing to fear those days, and she's not alone, unfortunately. She's
Hmm.
That's a very common thing, and what I suggest is to look at it at the cycle as a whole, yeah, as a circle. So inner spring and inner summer, what we do, how we live those 2 weeks, how we create, yeah, just what happens
Hmm.
during that time has a big impact on inner autumn. So I would suggest to keep really a close eye on how are you behaving, or how are you living your daily
Hmm.
life during the times where you're full of energy. Because
Hmm.
if you I usually, like, during my speeches, I use that image of when you menstruate, you get a huge pile of wood logs, to
Hmm.
keep your fire burning. And those wood logs, they have to last during your whole cycle. And if you put too many of those wood logs on your fire in inner spring and summer, you run out of warmth and energy that you urgently
Hmm.
need, even more during the end of your cycle. Yeah. So it's an energy management thing as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But that is a really good metaphor or image. One could almost have symbolically, I don't know, a ball of crystals or something, or leaves, or yeah, and
Mhm.
to be reminded, or to actually be aware or track for a whole month. How much did I actually give today? What were all the things which I gave, and what did I do for myself to receive? And then just, yeah,
Yeah. And for me, what I usually realize is when I don't anything funny anymore, when I can't laugh anymore, when there's like no humor left in my daily life,
Mhm.
then I know I'm exhausted and I'm missing something. When there is
Mm.
nothing of that spark anymore, and it's just all this bleh, um yeah, this energy of I don't want to. I want to be somewhere else. I want to quit my job. I
Mhm.
want to leave the country. I want to leave the relationship. Those are
Yes.
loud signs of yeah, also of I mean, not
Mm.
only of a lack of energy, but we can start tracking that very easily. Uh, in that we just have keep our cycle present and know pretty much every day where we are in our cycles. It
Mm.
is this cycle check. I do this every day. Every day I know where
Yes.
I am in my cycle. And that doesn't
Yes.
mean I have to feel this way or that way. It's just a day ahead of me, and I'll see what the day brings. But
Mhm.
I'm not so surprised anymore. And I can prevent certain tough situations. And that's sweet. That's good for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I highly, highly agree with you. And yeah, I wish that every woman or menstruator can do that. It's such a gift. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take long at all, right?
No,
It's a
no,
wonderful thing.
yeah, it doesn't take long, and we are
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
are with us ourselves every second of our
Mm-hmm.
days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not anything extra we
Absolutely.
need to do. We just need to check
Mm-hmm.
in.
Before I go to the next question, I add a little question from myself. What is your experience or opinion, Josiane? Because I've actually read in two fabulous books two different opinions or thoughts about that. When we bleed in the inner winter, one person said to actually that's not the time for the huge, big life questions. And I've also read from people saying that's the moment to really trust intuition and to make these big decisions. And I notice now that's actually a question I really sit with. And I mean, in the end, we just need to trust our own intuition, even on that, I suppose.
Yeah,
But
but
what do you feel? Is the winter the time to make big decisions?
it's a key question. I think my opinion on that would be it's a good thing that we don't bleed just one day. So when you
Yes.
say, let's say your bleed lasts for like 5 days, 5 days of bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
So my approach on that is to sit with the blood and just rest as much as possible for like the first 2 days at least. And I'm saying that with being a mom of 3 kids, with having work, doing work, with having a very active homeschooling life with the kids. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that I can sit on the couch for 2 days and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do mean during those 2 days, then I really don't make any big decisions. Then
Mm-hmm.
I don't plan appointments. I don't
Mm-hmm.
call people back. I don't watch the news so much. Like it's an inner thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blood usually gets a little less. And I think like day 4 or 5 of our cycle, when
Mm-hmm.
the bleeding kind of starts to end, and we had in the chance to rest a little before, that's for me a good time to think the big
Mm.
questions. Or also to kind
Mm-hmm.
of set a tone of how do I want this next cycle to be?
Yes.
Um, what do I want to invite in my life? And what do I really not want
Mm-hmm.
to happen in that cycle? So it doesn't have to be a big life changing question each cycle,
Mm-hmm.
but I would suggest really like 2 to 3 days of really just, like riding, eating well, going for
Mm.
walks, changing something about my daily structures a little. So it's not
Mm.
24 hours for month and years always the same if I bleed or not. So that's what I do.
That is such a helpful answer. That is such a helpful answer because one can feel the potency of the inner winter because we so meet our own temple, and I always feel yes, there must. I'm sure there is. The intuition is so close, and it is also exactly. It will. I probably will get some very true answers, but it's difficult, it's overwhelming to expect that in the first days of bleed because also of course physically we are more tired and we
Yeah,
lose
yeah,
blood,
and
and I love
overwhelming.
that idea to first
Yeah,
nurture and then see and
yeah.
okay, what is then
And
there.
not even act on it. Even if you have
Mm,
intuition, even if there comes an
mm-hmm,
impulse, even if you have some, whoa, okay, like sometimes for
mm-hmm,
me it's really like this body feeling, like I start opening up towards an idea or a thought, but I don't have to act on it, and not
mm,
then. And
mm-hmm.
it's a bit, let's say, like the month of February or March. Those are
Mm-hmm.
months that are,
Yeah.
it's still cold, nature is still resting, but we can plan. We can
Mm-hmm.
we can we can feel already a little bit the spring that's ahead, but we cannot plan everything yet. It's too early. So
Mm,
I would say like December, January energy is more like for me, like really the inner bleeding, the menstruation time, the inner winter.
mm-hmm.
And then February, March is like hold your horses, but spring will come. And then
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
then you go
that
on.
is
Yeah.
very helpful. Second question. So that one is from a woman, I believe she's in her mid 40s, perimenopausal. And the question is she has a coil and finds it hard to track her cycle and recognize the menstrual stages. She says, which to recognize the menstrual stages because of all the drugs, hormones, and stresses. What can I do? How to, I guess the question is yes, how to deal. Yeah, she has a coil and she struggles to recognize her
Tell me
stages.
that word coil. She has a what?
Mirena coil, a coil,
Spiral?
Verhütungsmittel, a Spirale, yes.
Ah, okay,
In
okay.
German,
That's
it's called
good.
a spiral, which we
Yeah.
know. A spiral. What's the difference between a spiral and a coil? Spiral, coil. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's a question I get a lot. And it's not easy to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm.
Take
Like,
your time.
yeah, I can answer it from like different sides.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you can pick whatever is helpful. um, One question I would ask myself: why is it still important to me to have this kind of contraception? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do I need it for, like, medical reason?
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, if we have hormonal contraception of any kind, and there's so many different kinds out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just a pill like it was like 30 years ago. There's so many different ones, and they don't all work the same. So I do have met women who say, "Oh, I still can feel those four inner phases. I can feel those seasons." And I talked to lots of other women who said, "No, it is hormonal contraception. That does mean
Mm-hmm.
that's why they exist. It's a reason. That's their job to not let us have those four seasons. So we
Mm-hmm.
can't really mix those two
Mm-hmm.
wishes, I would say, of choosing that kind of contraception and feeling the
Mm-hmm.
four inner seasons. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean a bit?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's not
It's just a
completely
fact,
clear.
right? They try. Yes, it's just a
It is a
fact.
fact. Yeah, it is a fact. And what happens in our mid 40s or begin like those years between 40 and 50, things change. Um, Even like without contraception, cycle can start getting longer. Like inner winters, like the bleeding is kind of missing. We don't
Mm-hmm.
ovulate every month anymore. Cycles can also get shorter. Our blood gets different. Like I had the same consistency of the blood for 25 years. Now it's changing. I'm 44 now, and it's changing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
all little signs of that change, of that perimenopausal state that can last many many years. um, if I go to the doctor, she says, "Oh no, you're still like bleed every month. You're way too young. That's nothing menopausal about it." And it's like, yes, it is. I mean, I'm so very much in that topic. I can feel all those changes,
Mm-hmm.
and it is in a it's yeah, the time between 40 and 50, we are not 20 anymore, we are not 30 anymore. It is something else is changing. It is a season that's over, or part of it over. Our life's summer is ending, and our
Mm-hmm.
life's autumn is starting, and that's not a clear cut. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
what's Übergang. There's
And
a transition.
transition. It's a
Yeah,
transition.
a
Mm-hmm.
transition time, and that time can be 2, 3, 4 years, or 10
Mm-hmm.
years. And yes, it does get a bit stormy during that time. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that much a clear picture of ourself, of our cycles,
Mm-hmm.
than we maybe used to have before.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, and I get the question all the time. So I don't have a regular cycle anymore, or whatever, and what's my orientation now? How do I, like, where
Mm-hmm.
am I in my cycle? And we most probably cannot ask that question anymore. It is
Mm-hmm.
a transition time, and I truly, truly hope for every woman, every
Mm-hmm.
bleeding person, that we do have some other orientation in our lives as well. It's. I
What do you
mean,
mean with that?
I
Or
mean,
give an
I'm a
example.
big advocate of this whole menstrual cycle living thing.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, that's
Mm-hmm.
my passion, my everything. But I do hope when we are 45, when we are 50, that we just have enough life experience as well to not let our menstrual cycle be the only orientation that comes from inside, that
Yes.
we have
Mm-hmm.
other anchors, that we have other thoughts, other, how do you say, other roots we can
Yeah.
hold on
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
cannot be. I mean, a man
Mm-hmm.
go through the same stages. They don't have that
Mm-hmm.
kind of hormonal change, but men can be rooted as well, and men can be struggling in their midlife as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or right, we do have to, like, it's my wish that we have other orientation than only our menstrual
Mm-hmm.
cycle.
So then
That we know
maybe.
ourselves so
Mm-hmm.
well, our
Mm-hmm.
needs, that we can say, okay, today I'm feeling like this, I think I need that, so
Mm-hmm.
that we're just at that age, at least it's my
Mm-hmm.
wish, that we are in touch with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
that we do, like, because that menstrual cycle, that's leaving us at some point. We're not fertile
Mm-hmm.
anymore after our last bleed. That's just a fact, and it's not an easy fact for many.
No. Mm-hmm.
It's that's a transition. That's the, yes, we are getting older, and
Mm-hmm.
to honor that, to respect that, and to appreciate that, even, um, to also to have access to that inner, not that inner autumn that we have in our menstrual cycle, but to our life's autumn, like, so
Mm-hmm.
much experience. We have been here for such a long time. We went through so many crises and through so many joyful moments. We have a lot of life knowledge, and that's what we work with then in the future, and
Mm.
not with the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, you mentioned so many interesting things. The first thing you mentioned, I'd like to unpick some of those. The first thing you said was the question to actually ask oneself, do I really still need the coil for medical reasons, etc.? What was the thought behind that? Or that's one question a little bit. What window opportunity could she still open up if she would be able to let go of that? And the other question is, yes, it's a fact, right, that with the coil we actually don't have our own cycle or driven by our brain, hypothalamus, all the hormones, etc. And yet there is an archetypal cycle. I think Alexandra Pope calls it archetypal cycle. So she will still, of course, witness or notice different stages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the first question of, like,
Mhm,
why do we need contraception?
mhm,
I mean, there are times in our life when it's useful, where it's helpful.
mhm,
I'm not the one saying, never think about that, never do that.
mhm.
It's just, it is, I think, a question we need to inform ourselves really well about.
Yes.
It's that, and then make an decision that's good for us, but not
Mhm,
because, like, it's easier, because her
mhm,
situation doesn't sound so easy. So it
mhm,
really is, would be my question, does this coil make her situation really a little bit better or
mhm.
even worse? That's
Yes.
how I would approach
Yes.
this question.
Because if she might medically be able to let it go, what could what window
Again,
opportunity what could she
yeah,
gain? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, that's
even
what
if
I
she's
would.
already in the I don't know mid 40s maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And it is a thing, like, if your cycles are getting longer or shorter,
Mm-hmm.
there is that thing coming up again of what do I do with, like, unwanted pregnancies, or
Mm-hmm.
the chance of
Mm-hmm.
getting pregnant again at that age. That's something that's not very often talked about, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's a thing that I learned a few, like, month ago. Abortion is a
Mm-hmm.
big topic at that age.
Mm.
It's not a teenage thing.
That's
It
so
comes up
important.
again at
Mm-hmm.
that age, and we need to be aware of that. Yeah. The second, um, the second one, I'm not really sure about that archetypal thing. I
Or I
mean, we
mean, maybe
are.
my question is, even though with hormonal contraception we don't have the period or the cycle as we have it without,
Mm-hmm.
and yet I guess I would agree, or I think yes, she will still notice different phases or cycles.
Yeah.
Is there some inputs or some tips and tricks how to still kind of meet those, or
Yeah.
or is it
I
actually,
mean,
would you orient at the moon? But that's also difficult because we have so much light
yeah,
pollution,
like
everything.
some love to go with the moon, the phases of the moon. It's like the new moon. It's the
Mm-hmm.
the time of rest, of pausing, of stillness, and then towards the full moon, it's more the out being out there, being
Mm-hmm.
talkative, being connecting with people. Some love to do that. Like really going with the moon phases and have that as a constant changing
Mm-hmm.
light for them. Some do that. What I also love to do or tell people at that age is really to have a look like this eagle view from above.
Mm.
Where are you in your life? So
Mm.
let's say 45, right? That's the middle thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've lived for 45 years. Maybe you'll
Mm-hmm.
live another 45 years. Maybe not. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know. We don't know. So there is this thing of what's happening in my life at the moment. And it can be a very intense, dense, full time of children, maybe little children even, teenager, maybe a relationship that has been going on for like 15, 20 years. How is that going? Your work situation, going back to work maybe after the kids, or having like tons of work
Mm-hmm.
experience because you worked through all since your youth. Like it's mostly those questions like what's your value? What's your position? And is that
Mm-hmm.
changing? Because most of the separations and also most of new fresh starts are happening in that time period. And
Mm.
on the other end of life might also be your parents that are maybe 70, maybe 80. What's happening with them? How are they doing? Are they still around? Do you start taking care of them? So it's a
Mm-hmm.
very it's an exhausting time. So we need
Mm-hmm.
to be really careful with ourselves, how we treat ourselves during that time. It's
Mm.
yeah, that's not so easy to navigate through that. And the more you know yourself, the more you know your needs, your reactions, the more you can trust yourself, the more your body can breathe, the easier it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
gets. Mhm.
Yeah, and therefore, right, it might also then be a moment where we maybe, yeah, some women or menstruators realize, oh wow, I actually do not really know my needs, or
Yeah.
actually I do not have an anchor. I just imagine I'm soon also 45, 15 years. Um, and I could just also feel or empathize. That might also be maybe could fill someone with also pain or a sadness. But then there is also the gift in that it's a
Yeah.
gift that, and it's similar to the first question where a younger woman who talks about this monthly autumn, and now we talk about a bit older
Yeah.
woman and that big autumn, and it's similar questions.
It is, and there is a lot of sadness in that topic. There is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I received an email yesterday from a
Mhm.
woman who is 53, and she said, I have no one I can talk to about that. There's like, don't have like close friends. She has friends, but it's like a taboo topic. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, wow. So there is a lot, and she does like she wrote that to me, like that sadness and
Mhm.
what I'm doing with myself now. And I think it's an adventure to go and look for the gold or the silver or whatever the pearls that live ahead of us, that are really
Yes.
waiting for us
Mhm.
to be explored and to
Mhm.
be found. And
Mhm.
I'm 100% positive they are there. It's not
Yes.
our lives are not just getting downhill until we die.
No.
No.
No, no, no.
I
It's
mean,
just another rite of passage. Again, Alexander
yeah,
calls it.
yeah.
It's
And if
yeah.
you look at nature, I mean, what does nature give us in autumn? And really,
Mm-hmm.
it's all the really nourishing food.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the pumpkins, the quinces,
Mm,
the potatoes, the
that is
the
true.
apples, the nuts. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
all those
Mm-hmm.
really really nourishing things. And
Hmm.
I think life has some very nourishing things in store for
I
us.
think that's a beautiful end to that question, to just actually acknowledge or celebrate that the autumn or that perimenopausal period phase is full of the most precious fruits. And to really just allow that metaphor image nurture any question which one then had, or just nurture the journaling we do in that time. What needs to happen that I can really allow myself to harvest those fruits and even fill my whole cellar with them.
Beautiful, beautiful said.
Good.
Yeah,
So
I
the
agree.
third question I picked brings us back to spring. Maybe I've already touched upon things, but I thought, oh, that's such a wonderful, inspiring one. It's from a woman, I believe, in her 25, 26, finished her studies and shared on some level, well, she should know well, she now knows what she should be doing and where she should work, but still very much just this question, what is my purpose, what is my calling, what is my next step? And she said finds it really difficult really difficult, and wonders how can she use cyclical living, how can she use her cycle to with a bit more ease find answers to the big questions where, yeah, what is the next step and what is my purpose? That's what she said.
Mhm. Beautiful question.
Hmm.
Beautiful question. And I do think I have a big empathy, big passion for young people that's starting to grow because even though I sometimes still feel 26, I'm sometimes surprised adult actually. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'm the mom. I have 3 kids. Oh yeah, right. So I do feel very close still to that age.
Hmm.
And I do think, I think young people. So that, to that young lady, I would say, have a good look, honest look back on your past, like 10 years, like from 15, 16 up till
Hmm.
now. What happened in your life?
Hmm.
What decisions were you able to make out of joy and not out of you must do the right thing for your future? You must
Hmm.
choose something to support you financially in your life. You must finish this study. You must do this. You must do that. So, how much joy could you yeah, have in your decision making? How much
Hmm.
freedom? How much Selbstwirksamkeit?
Oh,
Oh,
Selbstwirksamkeit
what?
in English. I'm sure there is a really smart word for that.
We will look for that
Um,
word.
self-agency, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Hmm.
So how also how seriously were you taking? I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes we have dreams, we have
Hmm.
hopes, we have wishes, we have longings, and then it's like, yeah, but that's not, like that's not good for you. Like,
Hmm.
how often have others known better for what's good for you? And then just have like an honest look back at that, and you can do that. Like in a go for a walk. Go for a walk if that's in the city, in a park, along a river, in the nature. Just go on a walk with those questions and look back over your next 10 years. And you can do that in a really down to earth way. Like, when I was 15, I did this and that and wanted to do this and that. When I was 16, and then you go through all your years. Everyone can actually do that. That's a very good thing to do.
Hmm.
And then, what was the struggles? What people were in your life by then? What changed? Because that's a time in our life where many things change. like maybe in the first 16 years of our lives, maybe we live at the same place, maybe it's the family around us, and then things start to change. And then it's this cool and that's cool, and the siblings get a bit like not torn apart, but they're different
Mm-hmm.
paths,
Yes.
and then you choose different directions of like profession, of work, of boyfriends, of
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It just kind of there are parts of our life that break apart, and that's normal, but it can also be painful. We can
Mm-hmm.
feel a bit lost, and what's missing, I think, very much what I was missing was yeah, is these people we can look up to in a good way, like
Mm-hmm.
real people in our real life, not necessarily social media stars, but just like, who is that person who is 15 years older, and I choose that number for a reason. Who is a person who is like 15 older than I am, I can talk to? Because 15 is like maybe a little bit older than your oldest sister if you have one, but
Mm-hmm.
it's younger than your mother. It's this in between, in
Mm-hmm.
between. And those people usually do not really exist in our lives, because it's either the mom, dad generation or our generation. And I found it's really cool to have to find those people. So
Mm.
where are they? Do you have like mentors, mentors, teachers, whatever? It can
Yes.
be someone, from sports, from dancing, from your art class, from, whatever. That can be anyone. But do you have those people in your life? Do you have one person, two person? And usually the sad answer I get to that is like, no, I wouldn't know who that is.
Mm.
And I wish a bit that those people are like, young people find someone like that to talk to, but also that older people, like I can say now, like mid 40s, where are the people in my life that are 30? What are they going
Mm-hmm.
through? Can I ask them how they are doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just this net of taking care of each other to activate that a bit more.
Mm.
That doesn't really answer the question of the young lady.
No, but I just think the last point is actually a really incredibly good impulse or idea. I think somehow for some reason, I was a person who did that from very early on. I always had, interestingly, also many of my best friends are actually in their 70s, all these old wise women, I call them my mentors. Yeah, I call them mentors.
Yeah.
And I guess unconsciously, one part of me always know it felt like an anchor, or it felt like they would help me to curve a path, but without pressure. It's not that you have to go exactly that path, but,
Mhm.
and I would say exactly who is that person, a person where you just feel without words a heart connection. You feel there is something they do which really sings to my heart,
Yeah.
which does
Yeah.
something with me. And
Yeah.
then unconsciously or consciously, if we, yes, talking to be with those mentors is fantastic. And also just not, I always had their pictures on my vision board, without also sometimes not talking to them. But I think that is such a good
Mhm.
impulse, for that's such a good
Mhm.
idea.
Mhm. And the menstrual cycle, I think there lies the potential of figuring out those longings. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I heard your question, the question from the young lady, it is a bit of a sadness in there, or a
Mm-hmm.
confusion in there. And I think it's also important to, on one hand, nourish that wish of where is my place, where is my position, where is my passion. Yes. But on the other hand, also to be gentle to ourselves of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is like that changes all the time. The answer to that question changes all the time.
Yes.
And maybe
Yes.
find out more of how to be in that moment, how to be connected
Yes.
right now, and not trying to be connected to the one you want to be. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's also, it's also a nice thought. It's also,
Mm-hmm.
if that fills you with positive vibes, if that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
gives you that tingle of, whoa, there are so many options, so many possibilities, then it's cool. But if it kind
Mm-hmm.
of tightens you up and it's like, oh, I have no clue what to do
Mm-hmm.
and who to be, and then trying to stretch that lifetime you are in right now, to stretch that more, and you are just starting in your summer of your life, and
That is a
what you
good
want to nourish
reminder.
and what you want to
Mm-hmm.
birth, and that doesn't have to be babies, you can birth
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
What's and actually, I mean, I do those things. I mean, they are a bit brutal sometimes, but I do that quite often. If I have one more year to live, if I have 5 more years to live, I do that.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
be honest, sometimes when I really don't know, should I do this or that or go there and there, then I think, okay, if that was my last trip where I would go to Scotland and go to Scotland.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it's okay. I think it's a
I
fair
think
enough
it's
question.
okay. Yeah.
And we don't have a guarantee that we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
80. And I do think, but it's a challenge that age, to
Mm-hmm.
figure out where is the joy in the moment and
Mm-hmm.
where is the ease,
Mm-hmm.
because life doesn't, it's not about being hard
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the joy, the ease, the flow, the sparks right now, and where is the longing pulling me
Mm-hmm.
towards what my brain maybe tells me something different. My brain tells
Yes.
me, nah, not possible, that doesn't make sense, whatever, or my parents gonna say. Even you're
Mm-hmm.
an adult, it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
voices in our head. um, and journaling always
Mm-hmm.
helps, just to get it on
Yes.
paper, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the same answer as before.
Mm-hmm.
Get those things on paper and do not push them away and
Mm-hmm.
turn to your phone, you
Yes, and
know?
maybe just observe what is it what I journal over and over again. And now 3 summers I journaled that I want to do this or that, and now 3 autumns I said I'm so tired of. Okay, then at one point we just need to take action and do it, right? And
Yeah,
journaling helps to find what are the places where we actually really need to take action. I
yeah,
loved that you. I think that is a great image for that woman to take. That she is at the beginning of her summer. That does also for me, oh, that does take pressure. Wow, it's okay to be at the beginning of that season. And yes, I guess sometimes we have these huge insights in one cycle, but these are huge questions which we
yeah,
don't need to get answer during one cycle. And what you said to I personally feel the one thing we always know is what is just the teeny tiny next step. And it can be as simple as I need to cut my hair tomorrow, or I'll just take it can be silly steps, but
yeah.
I'm always
It
surprised where these steps then lead me.
Me too. And it can be things that we totally overlook, even in our like surroundings where we live,
Mm-hmm.
Um, really silly, funny things like throwing old books out, or books.
Yes.
I have books I thought I will read because, oh, that's right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
That's I need to
Mm-hmm.
read that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been in my shelf for like 10 years. And like, no, I don't need to read that book because I would have done so already. So for me, also when I'm in a state of kind of these, I don't know what to do, cleaning the shit out of my life, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's like physical stuff, if it's friends list, contact lists, whatever, pictures, let let go of things. That
Absolutely.
always frees up something, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. We can be
Mm-hmm.
surprised about what it is
Yeah,
sometimes,
that
but it
is
always,
true.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it frees up things.
Mm. There's this wonderful practice. I don't actually know where it comes from. I've one somehow picked up in a book, and it's for 9 days. You throw away. It's a feng shui number, something you throw. Give away or bring to charity shop for 9 days. 27 items every day, and you think, oh my, that's crazy. 27 items. And I mean, you can also at one point, if you really struggle, you can count, old newspapers. Or one day I did
Yeah,
a computer recycle, but it was such a good practice to just really walk around knowing I can't go to sleep unless I gave
yeah,
27 things
yeah.
away.
That's so cool. Yeah, and leave those things. And I love that because it gets you into your body and into your surroundings.
Mm-hmm,
That's not
mm-hmm,
something you do on your phone.
mm-hmm. So maybe that's
And
another impulse for this woman. Why not? 9 days, 27
yeah,
items.
yes, get rid of shit.
Wow. Josianne, it's no question, but this is calling for a third episode.
I know.
We have.
I know.
I'm thinking, should I
That's
now spoiler? No, we don't yet. It's a secret. What was the other wonderful thing we wanted to talk about, which we will. But this conversation was so full and rich and complete and whole in itself.
Yes, that's what I feel too. Yeah, and it was not to bring the other really juicy topic in it, but we
Yes,
will do that, and I'm looking forward
we'll
to
do
it.
that. Josianne, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and just experience and your wonderful energy with all of us. I know how much it's appreciated.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure, a huge joy to talk
It's
to you.
wonderful, right? One could talk for hours about these topics. Again, what another wonderful conversation. I have so much enjoyed listening to Josianne and talking to her, and yeah, I think I've taken a lot for myself from this conversation, and I hope you feel the same about it. And yes, this is a little spoiler alert. Josianne will be back. We will record another episode for you in July, which I will release in August. In August, it's 1 year, the breathing body. I can't wait. I'm very, very excited. And yeah, I'm not gonna say more now. Let yourself be surprised, and I wish you all the best. I wish you a wonderful spring, a wonderful summer, and yes, leave a review, leave a comment, share and spread if you enjoyed. That's such a huge help. I'm looking forward hearing from you, and all my love. Bye.